Hey guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion, number 342, the new old tutorial, and I am actually joined this time by Bombug.
Hello, hello. Bombug is back again, the new old guest. How you doing, X?
Doing good. How about you? It's good to be talking again.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Schedule's getting all shifted up with the quarantine.
Yeah, the quarantine is definitely changing a lot of people's lives. Us too, not a lot. Most
We're
people,
homebodies.
yeah, most people who are introverts and gamers, probably not that affected by it. Um,
And let's be honest here, if you're a gamer and you're playing Factorio, I mean, something kind of wrong with you. You probably weren't socializing anyway.
I mean, yeah, you may not even
Yeah.
know there's a quarantine.
Yep.
uh, but yeah, so this is about the tutorial slash campaign and some stuff they're doing with it. They've talked about it a bit previously. It's a fair bit of text. I may just try to summarize some of it, but it is pretty interesting. So this is by Abrigado. I believe almost all of it. As stated in previous Friday Facts, we'll be making some changes to the demo and tutorial content in the game. I wanted to clarify exactly what is being removed and what is being replaced with. What it is being replaced with, as this content is almost ready for release. If you would like to catch up on the topic, you can read Corex's piece in Friday Facts 327, so not too long ago. But I'll also summarize it here. So basically, currently there's the MP slash introduction, uh, which is used in the demo and as a tutorial in the full game is 017 stable and in 018 experimental. Basically, if you played in the last 12 months, it's probably what you've played. Uh, and in the First Steps campaign was a series of 3 levels which used to make up the demo and tutorial in 016 and earlier. Those were introduced in 2014. We've been working on revamping these levels to bring them back up to 018 standards. So uh, you have played probably the MPE, yeah? Or did you not even play that?
Yeah. So I've started and stopped Factorio a few times, right? I did initially do the 16 tutorial, version 16 tutorial. Uh, and then when I came back in version 17 here and I actually got into the game, I only did just a little bit of the first tutorial and then just jumped into free play.
Okay, all right. Um, so you did a little bit of both then, is what it seems
Yeah,
like.
a little bit of both.
Did you get like personally? Is there one that you like preferred from what you played, or could you not? Did you not play enough to tell?
Ah, I thought that let's see. So the version 17 kind of actually made me a little confused when I got into the game because I was expecting stuff to sort of be like already built for me a little bit, like have some assemblers available and ready to do stuff for me. Yeah, a little bit confused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, like the tutorials kind of give you some of the mechanics, which I think is important because I don't think everything in Factorio is obvious at all.
No.
Uh, but I also don't know if they're super helpful. And frankly, game developers know this a lot. Tutorials kind of make a lot of people quit and don't necessarily deliver the right information all the time because it's super hard once you've developed a game to say, okay, well, how do we teach this to players now?
Yeah.
Tutorial is very rare.
Yes. It really is. So I would agree. The from what I played of the 017 version, it confused me, and I already know how to play. So I mean, maybe that's part of why it confused me, but it was a little didn't quite seem right. So basically, with that, they're very soon removing the MPE slash introduction, with the 017 one. That'll be removed in the First Steps. The 016 one will be reinstated both as a full game tutorial and demo, but up to date with 018 standards. Um, so basically, what's been changed? Uh, their plan was to change these as little possible while trying to make it up to modern Factorio standards, which makes sense. I do appreciate that they are trying to keep them in their original state as much as possible. Um, but it is harder than you would think. So, as stated in Friday Facts 241, over 100 Friday Facts ago,
Wow.
um, That's what, 2 year, almost two
Yeah,
years.
almost 2 years. It's a
Um,
long while back.
yeah, big time. There were many things we felt were inconsistent in the First Steps campaign. One of the largest ones was that there were many different and confused channels of information. The newer version has given each channel a purpose and a format. The most distracting and the most popular was the character monologues. Some of the messages in each channel were written in the first person as if the character is talking to themselves. All the instances of this occurring in the yellow speech bubbles and objective panel are gone or moved to the console. The rule here is that nothing that is actually necessary should come via this channel. To communicate to the player that this is story text, I added a speaker prefix. So as you can see here, pretty clear. Engineer. This looks like an abandoned mining site. Wonder what the robotic arm is for. It's very clear that this is like the engineer thinking or talking to themselves. Um, and then of course there's an objective, which is pretty clear that this is an objective. Not some like just speech. So the most necessary and most annoying channel was the yellow speech bubbles. There are situations where it is absolutely necessary to pause the game and tell the player something. So since we have no technology designed for this purpose, I just resorted to removing as many of them as possible. They only appear where necessary, although I would still like to get rid of more of them. The final channel is the objective window. The rule here is if the player tabbed through all the speech bubbles without looking and did not read the story text, they should still be able to finish the level. The text should not be in the first person, and we can speak directly to the player. It makes sense. I personally, this is a thing with me with games, and I think a lot of people get mad at me if I do this. But personally, when I play games, I don't pay attention whatsoever to the storyline or any of the text. I just go through it as quickly as possible. So personally, for someone like me, having the ability to just look at the objective and have a general idea of what I need to do without ever having read or listened to the story is really important.
Yeah, I think that's a real important note to hit on. Even players who, how should I say it, who aren't like opposed to story stuff, a lot of times they'll just accidentally click through something, that important dialogue that then they can't bring back up, and they've missed actual crucial information. It's not good. So having the objective window sounds like a great idea to me. Always keep it up with good information, and your players will always have something to push towards.
Yep, exactly. So the first channel is we already did that. So due to much more rigorous and dedicated internal testing from Boss Kid, of course,
Mm-hmm.
we caught a lot of corner cases where players can become stuck. The tutorials also now taking into account new and updated game features. For example, previously the pickaxe was used to demonstrate crafting, so some extra attention had to be paid to when the player crafts the stone furnace for the first time, since obviously there's no pickaxe now. The map have been updated to look much more like what the random generators create in freeplay, which is nice. That's less confusion. And then the new remnants make a great impression here, which is really great. All these new remnants they've been introducing over time are like perfect for something like the campaign here.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. You get an idea of, oh, I can line up a whole bunch of these along a row of belts and get some production going. Because I know a lot of people, they have sort of a single track mine where they drop one miner and then one belt in front of it and then like a box and an arm. And they don't think, oh, just put it all on one belt.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty common. So this is really nice, like you said. Uh, and also, yeah, so now that this quick bar does not automatically populate, we had to be more careful about when the player has their inventory open. The new standard for new players is open inventory, take item, close inventory, place item, open inventory, place remaining items, close inventory. Giving new players the option to add quick bar links as early as possible is a challenge because every time you add a new concept, the player must expand some of their attention, keeping it in mind. Not only that, but using the quick bar actually removes a perfect opportunity for the player to practice interacting with the inventory, which is very true. That's a real difficult challenge there. When to introduce these big concepts, because if you do introduce too much at a time, you're just going to completely overwhelm people, and they're like, not going to remember what they just learned because they're being introduced to new things so quickly.
Oh,
Um, so that is definitely difficult. And then last two sections here. Why are they changing it? Kovarex did mention his reasoning in depth in 327 Friday Facts if you want to check that out. But a lot of people ask me for more information to help them understand. Postmortems are uncomfortable but necessary, so I'll try to summarize his point and add one of my own. The MPE/introduction was created to widen the audience of Factorio. It takes new players a long time to get into the game, and many stop playing before "quote unquote" getting it. The strategy was to show new players, both in demo and tutorial, more of the mid game. After finishing the scenario, Corvex realized that this experience was not in line with his vision for the game. When he told me how I felt, I think he was surprised that I agreed with his decision to remove it. Vision alignment is very important, especially in a demonstrator product. It isn't something you can just fix when the project is almost finished. This is not to say that it failed in its goals. It did appeal to a wider audience, and player feedback at the end of development was overwhelmingly positive. I actually received a lot of feedback from genuine first-time demo players pledging to buy the game immediately, and also from story-focused non-sandbox players who were craving more. But as Kovarex said in his Friday Facts, the cost of this was too high. In the light of the full-length campaign being canceled, see V's part in 331. This is the biggest reason why I think the MP/introduction would have failed as a demo. We would have been offering an experience in the demo which was targeted to a wide audience, but the quest-loving players were not going to get any extra content if they bought the game. A literal, it isn't what's on the tin situation. And I really, really appreciate and respect the fact that this is a reason, part of the reason they took it out, because there are games and there's a lot of just general products, as we all know, that kind of teases you with something, and then after you buy it, you realize that there isn't actually more of that thing you were interested in. And
mobile
it's
game ads. Oh,
yes, yeah, it's a great example. Um, so it's and even to an extent, most like new game trailers where it's like cinematics and not actual gameplay footage, and you
I
see
hate
like,
that.
yeah, you see like real cool stuff, and then you actually get the game and you're like, oh, I can't actually do half the stuff they showed in this because it was like a complete, like stage cinematic and not actual in-game footage type of thing.
I don't even watch cinematics anymore. I literally just look up gameplay footage
Mm-hmm.
and go for reviews like a month or two after the game comes out. I'm like,
Yes.
I don't even care. Oh, an E3 demo? Okay, I'll see you in 5 years when the game actually comes out and you have real content.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. So I really respect the fact they do that. Yet another testament, to their integrity and stuff. So a full postmortem would be much longer than this, and I would have liked to discuss much more about things that went right. On the upside, a lot was learned from this project that can only make the game better in the future, which is cool. So when's it coming? The updated First Steps tutorial is almost ready for release. We are still doing some general polishing and internal testing. Uh, Probably a fair bit of that is Boss Kid.
yep.
And if all goes to plan, it will be released within the next few weeks. However, that doesn't mean the work is necessarily finished, as no doubt they will need to tweak, polish, and fix a lot more things as player feedback starts rolling in. Alongside this addition, we will also be removing the MPE and doing a general cleanup of the new unneeded data changes. This may affect some mods which have dependencies on some new campaign assets. We might leave some assets if they are significant enough, for instance, the Completron. Like Clonin has made multiple mods that use the Completron, so it's good to hear those won't be going away.
Oh yeah.
So if you're a modder and something in the MP is special interest of you, please let us know. So uh, any modders who are watching this, who may not have read the Friday Facts already, and there's something in your mods that is used, that you're pulling from like the new campaign, make sure you let them know so they can try to keep it in. Um, but uh, but yeah, this is I like this personally. I never actually really played much at all of the First Steps campaign, just because I'm not really a campaign type of person. Uh, but from what I've seen, I did like them quite a bit, and from what I played of the MPE, I was not particularly fond of it. So in general, from what I know, this I'm in support of this change.
Yeah, and honestly, I think they're doing something right with the players that they bring in. So their marketing is good, be it word of mouth, be it their screenshots and gameplay footage on Steam. However, they're bringing in players, they're getting in players in who are actually interested in progressing with the game, even if maybe the tutorial is not super good. So the more they can do to help those players who are already super interested, the better.
Mm-hmm.
I've looked at a lot of Steam achievements that on many games you see, oh, look, only 20% of the players got effectively 1 hour into the game based on the Steam achievements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really, really low. But looking at Factorio, it's like 60% of people have researched oil processing, 44% of people have built a locomotive, and those are actually really good stats because those kind of things, especially on your first playthrough, happen several hours into the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they've got a good game set up where even if their tutorial is not top notch, the players are so interested in it, and the game is at least somewhat self-explanatory, so that you can get to that point where you're, researching oil processing, which for me did take several hours. I don't know about everybody else, but I kind of got swarmed by biters a couple times on my first attempt. you know,
What you mean? You don't get oil processing in the first 20 minutes like these speedrunners?
I ain't Nephrons. It's too hard for me.
Yeah.
I'm a slow boy.
Same. But you do have a really good point there that they're doing something right. Players are staying interested for at least a couple hours. So the more they can do to bring those players in and help them is a really good thing. Uh, One thing I do want to touch on. This is not an opinion. This is just relaying information because I'm sure there's people who are gonna be wondering or might say this. Quite a few people in the forums and Reddit said, "Why remove the MPE? Why not just leave it and make it another like gameplay option?" And basically, the reasoning for this, the other players countered with, which makes sense, is if it's in, it still needs to be supported and updated and fixed. Um,
Yep.
so that's a lot of extra work for something that they're not really behind and that they're not really uh, don't have a vision for themselves. So that's the main reason. And it makes sense, if you leave something in the game, especially in Factorio, because these devs are so good at fixing their stuff. They have to fix it, they have to support it, they have to update it as other stuff changes, and that's just a lot of extra work for something that they're not really even interested in anyway.
Yep. A lot of the sort of utilities that make the campaign stuff possible, the pop-up text and the objectives, those aren't things that are used in any other part of the game. So they're having to support things that don't provide any value for the majority of players. It's just not super useful.
No, not at all. So there's the answer to that. I think that pretty much covers it. It was good Friday facts. Like I said, we're in favor of this change. Maybe once they release it, I'll give it a playthrough on a stream or something, since I've never actually played much of it. Um, could be cool. So I think that's gonna do it, guys. You got anything else to add?
I'll just keep up the good work here, guys. I love seeing progress updates every week. It's especially with a lot of weird stuff going on in the world. It's good to have a little bit of routine, have something reliable to just always fall back on.
Exactly. It's really nice. I wake up every Friday, usually unless I forget, and and see what the Friday facts is. Some days I do forget, but uh, it is really nice to have that routine. So thank you guys. Keep up the great work, and for everyone watching, thank you so much. Really hope you enjoyed. Appreciate it. Leave your thoughts below and on Reddit in the forums for the devs. And until next time, we will catch you later.
Catch you later.